Washington State stormed into Camp Randall Stadium early in the year last year and came away with a victory in Madison. Can Bucky do the same and repay the favor this year, go into Pullman, and come out of the Pacific Northwest with a win over the Cougars?
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
Revenge is on the mind of the Badgers as they make a trip up to Pullman, Washington to take on Washington State. So if you kind of look back towards the first game of the year for the Badgers, that first half against Buffalo, there were some struggles, kind of off to a little bit of a slow start against the Bulls. Once they got into the second half, boy, did they start running downhill with Braelon Allen and Chez Melluci. Kind of looking back at that first game, we know, and I think we really found out that this run game is still going to be the bread and butter of Wisconsin football. You bring in Phil Longo, you bring in Tanner Mordecai, you bring in all these wide receivers. That's great. It's definitely going to make your team more balanced. It's going to make your team overall better on the offensive side. But this is still a team that wants to get a push up front with their offensive line, that still wants to run downhill with this great 1-2 combination of backs in the backfield in Braelon Allen and Chez Melluci. Boy, did Chez Melluci look really good, especially in that second half against the Buffalo Bulls. Of course, Braelon Allen is going to be Braelon Allen. He's going to be one of the best running backs in the Big Ten, but we really saw the Wisconsin of old, right, in the second half that really started to get that momentum going and look really good for Wisconsin. But there are some issues coming out of week one. There still is. You still look at Tanner Mordecai. You saw last year in some of the games against the better defenses, the more competitive games where Tanner turned the football over. You look in the spring game where he doled out interceptions like it was a gift on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And then you look at this game against Buffalo where you scratch your head sometimes. What are you doing, Tanner? Don't force the ball into that type of situation. Now, you take on a team in Washington State that has some pretty good players in the defensive secondary that have proven, especially last year, there's multiple players in the secondary returning for the Cougars that took the football away multiple times last season. You look at Sam Lockett at safety and Chow Smith Wade at corner. Both had multiple interceptions last season. And this is a pretty solid Washington State defense. This was a Cougar defense that was top 50 or so in the country last season in scoring defense. You bring back a good amount for the Cougars on the defensive side of the football. In the first game for Washington State, although the final score was 50-24, they had a 36-3 lead at the start of the fourth quarter at Mountain West, Colorado State. They were looking pretty good in this game as well. Kind of getting back to the offensive side of the football for Wisconsin. A key in this game, boy, you need to run the ball. You need to run the damn ball in this football game, I think, for multiple reasons. You need to maybe protect yourself a little bit from what Tanner Mordecai is and what he can be, because I don't think you want to get in a shootout against Washington State on the road. This Washington State team proved last year and proved in the first game this year, albeit against a lesser opponent, that they can still throw the ball. They can put up yards. They can put up points. They can move the ball up and down the field. Cam Ward threw for 451 yards and 3 touchdowns in week number 1. And here, not much of a run game, though. But here's the thing about this Washington State pass game. Last year, they distributed it to a lot of different players. There were 4 players on last year's teams with 3 or more touchdown catches. And there were a lot of players getting involved in 7 pass catchers had 3 or more catches during the Colorado State game. So whether it was last year or early this year, this is still an offense that's going to look to spread the football around. Although Lincoln Victor is the guy that had the really big game against Colorado State, you also need to watch out for Kyle Williams. You need to watch out for Fresno State transfer Josh Kelly as well. Coming into this season, I noticed that maybe the weaknesses on the Wisconsin defense, and boy, does this Wisconsin defense miss Jim Leonhard. I can tell that just after 1 week. The weaknesses are probably the secondary and the defensive lines / the pass rush. And those are the 2 parts to this Badger defense that they need to step up big time. You can't let Cam Ward sit there and pick you apart with the weapons and the multiple receivers that they have at their disposal. You need to cover a little bit better. And there was even some early in the season, early in the game, I should say, against Buffalo, there were some coverages that didn't look that great against maybe a mid-tier MAC team, a team that went 7-6 last year, like the Buffalo Bulls. So no question about it. We're going to find out a lot of things of where Wisconsin is taking on a solid Pac-12 team. We know how deep the Pac-12 is this season. So Wisconsin on defense, you need to get a good pass rush. You need to hit home, but you can't break contain. You can't let Cam Ward break contain. He's the guy that can get things done with his legs as well. If I remember correctly, I think that's where he kind of gave Wisconsin a little bit of problems last year, is his ability to make plays with his legs. And he gets outside the pocket, he can make throws on the run. So you can't break down in coverage when Cam Ward gets outside the pocket. You got to know your assignments on all fronts. So as I said before, this is not a Washington State team that's going to look to run the ball. We know the linebacking group is probably the strength of this Badger defense. Is Washington State going to be able to neutralize that group, the Mumajong Metas, the Jordan Turners of the world? Are they going to be able to neutralize that by throwing the ball on the outside and playing more on the perimeter? We'll see. So we talk about this really good Washington State offense. I could maybe see the best defense might be the run game. The best defense might be winning the time of possession battle in this game. Because as I said, there's an advantage up front for Wisconsin in running the football. Keeping the ball out of the hands of this Washington State offense seems to be the key, seems to be the path to success for Wisconsin. It seems like an old school approach, and maybe not this air raid approach will be Wisconsin's key to victory, going on the road in a game, in an environment in Washington State that should be pretty fun to play, and especially in a night game as well. Wisconsin almost needs to protect themselves from Tanner Mordecai. I'm sure Tanner would love to get in a shootout with fellow air raid guy Cam Ward, but that is not the path to victory. I want to see, as long as we're talking about Tanner Mordecai, I want to see him play better and make better decisions and make better throws, because there's probably going to be points in this football game Tanner's going to have to convert on a 3rd and 6, on a 3rd and 7, late in the game, and it's going to be one-on-one coverage, and you got to make the throw and don't force it into a window. It's not only this game. Defenses and the opponents that Wisconsin plays is going to get better as the season goes along. Like, you're going to start to play better defenses once you hit the Big Ten schedule. So this game is really going to show me a lot where this pass game is, where Tanner Mordecai is, because I think we found out in week number 1, this is a team that's their greatest weapon on this whole team is still their running game. It's still tried and true traditional Wisconsin football. I think sometimes you need to protect yourself from Tanner Mordecai a little bit, but that being said, he still needs to make key throws in key spots if this Wisconsin team wants to achieve the goals that they want to achieve, and that's getting back to the Big Ten Championship, something that they haven't done since 2019. It's going to be a challenge, no doubt about that. I want to hear what you guys think of this game. You think Wisconsin can go on the road to Washington State at night and get a victory over the Cougars? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.